The story started in 2023. A man named Haru was standing on the rooftop of a tech company building called Dragon Bank, while inside its CEO, Karika, was interviewing candidates. Out of 5,000 applicants, only 80 interviews were left. Meanwhile, another man named Gaku practiced hard for his interview in the restroom and walked nervously into the interview hall. He was a very shy man, and in his anxious state, he slipped and fell while trying to sit on the chair. He answered all the questions timidly and with fear. After him, Haru also came for the interview, and his confidence overflowed as he boldly answered every question, leaving Karika thoroughly impressed. After the interview, while Gaku was buying food from a vending machine, his money suddenly blew up into the air. Haru caught it, and that's how the two recognized each other. They went to eat together, and during their conversation it became clear how differently life treated them. Haru always believed he was lucky because he had cleared many interviews with ease, while Gaku, despite being brilliant with computers, had never passed even one. He appeared so nervous every time, almost as if someone had replaced his courage with a Wi-Fi password he could never remember. The story then shifted to 2016 when they first met. Late one night while they both were still in the school, a group of thugs robbed and bullied Gaku. At that very moment, Haru appeared like a hero, fighting them off without hesitation. But when he noticed a CCTV camera recording the entire scene, he panicked and ran, shouting that he'd surely be expelled from school. Feeling awful for him, Gaku used his laptop to hack into the CCTV system and erase the footage. That single act left a deep impression on Haru, who became convinced that Gaku would achieve something great one day. Yet in the present, Gaku's life looked nothing like greatness. He didn't even have a job. The next morning, he was cleaning windows on the tall glass building of Dragon Bank just to earn some money. While inside that very building, the newly selected candidates were attending training sessions. Haru appeared there to meet him and revealed that he had been selected for a job, but Gaku had not. Instead of celebrating, Haru quit the job on the spot. Any company, he said, that rejected a genius like Gaku and accepted a bluffing man like him wouldn't survive long. He told Gaku they should build their own company, make trillions, and then buy that very company outright. Haru painted vivid pictures of luxurious mansions, servants, and sleek cars, though Gaku couldn't quite grasp any of it. Years later, Trillion Game, the company they founded, actually became a massive firm, partnering with AI companies in America and Saudi Arabia. Journalists chased Gaku for interviews, always asking about Haru, but Gaku refused to speak about him, and it became clear that Haru was no longer part of the company, even though the dream had been his. When Gaku moved into a large new office, his assistant tried to throw out his old chair, but he stopped her. The chair carried too many memories that went back to 2023, when Haru bought him a new chair for 2 million yen, even though their combined savings for starting the company were only 2 million yen. How would they buy anything else if all the money went into one chair? Haru only laughed and told Gaku not to worry. They would earn trillions and then buy whatever they wanted. To raise funds, Haru took Gaku to meet investors. Despite having no real experience, Haru impressed one investor with a dummy portfolio. The man agreed to give them $1 million, but Haru boldly asked for 50 million instead, an offer that was promptly rejected. Undeterred, Haru continued meeting more investors, spinning lies with absolute confidence, while Gaku grew more anxious with each rejection. Haru never wavered. He was certain success was waiting just around the corner. Eventually, Haru arranged a meeting with the CEO of Dragon Bank, Karika. She warned him that companies founded by friends rarely lasted long. Haru just grinned and said their friendship was unbreakable. To prove his point, he claimed he could pocket every ball on a billiards table while blindfolded, and if he succeeded, she would have to fund them. Karika agreed with him and Haru blindfold to take his shot. But to everyone's shock, he did what he said. Karika ordered a bag containing 100 million yen, filling Haru and Gaku with joy, but she demanded 51% of their company in return. Haru refused outright. If she controlled the company, he said, there would be no point starting it at all. He walked away without hesitation. What Karika didn't say aloud was that she suspected Haru from the beginning. Later, her assistant discovered that the blindfold he had used was see-through. He had cheated, just as Karika guessed. Still, she was determined to control Haru and use his talents for her own purposes. Haru, meanwhile, went to a bar and loudly announced that Dragon Bank was funding them with 100 million yen, hoping other investors would try to outbid the deal. Around the same time, word spread about an event called Hackathon, hosted by Dragon Bank. The world's top hackers would attempt to crack a fake server and score points, with only 12 teams reaching the offline round. Haru quickly registered Gaku for the contest, and, on the entry form, instead of writing his name, he wrote that Karika had offered them 100 million yen, and they were open to other investors. Karika's assistant immediately recognized the trick. She understood Haru's plan, but she also knew the odds. Thousands of hackers were competing online, and Gaku's team barely stood a chance. On the day of qualification, Gaku sat nervously in his room and called Haru. The game was about to start, and he asked where he was. Haru casually replied that he was partying and told Gaku to play alone. Trembling, Gaku logged into the 12-hour competition, which was filled with every kind of digital challenge imaginable. Gaku used all his brains to solve the questions and managed to place himself in the top half, but every other team had 4 members while Gaku was alone. That's why making it into the top 12 felt impossible. Late at night, Haru arrived with a laptop showing nearly 100 computer nerds on a video call who were ready to help Gaku. Haru had actually sold his expensive watch to organize a meetup with these computer nerds, partied with them, and convinced them to support Gaku. By the next morning, they solved all the questions together and secured a spot in the top 12. The scene then shifted to the finals of the Security Championship Hackathon, where Gaku noticed that Haru still hadn't arrived. Right before the game began, Haru made his entrance in a bizarre outfit, carrying a strange stick for prayer. He told Kirika that if they lost today, they would become her slaves forever, but if they won, she would belong to them. Kirika replied, "Forever I can't say, but I'll definitely have a one-night stand with you," leaving even her assistant shocked. Haru then shook his stick in prayer, which was wrapped in aluminum foil, disrupting the Wi-Fi for the other participants. Apparently, divine intervention now comes with built-in signal jammers. Meanwhile, Gaku calmly connected to the network, hacked the other participants, and collected points. Soon, however, the organizers figured out what was going on and stopped Haru, drawing everyone's attention to their team. All the participants attacked Gaku, causing him to panic as he started losing points. Haru encouraged him and revealed that he had hidden a router. When everyone thought they were connecting to the official Wi-Fi, they had actually connected to their router. This gave Gaku access to their passwords, allowing him to attack their castles and collect points easily. Following Haru's advice, Gaku won the game effortlessly, but their cheating was caught, and they were disqualified. Kirika, however, was thrilled to see they would go to any lengths to start their company. Even happier was Mr. Kido, an investor now ready to fund Gaku and Haru. He took them to a bar full of models, including one named Sayori, who had shot many ads. There, Haru introduced Gaku as a great engineer, making the models take interest in him, thinking he was very cute. Then Haru joked that Gaku was actually a womanizer, someone who had slept with thousands of guys, leaving Gaku stunned, since he was an honest boy without even a girlfriend. Kido offered $30 million for a 20% share, but they finally settled at 15%. However, Kido had a condition that either Gaku or Haru had to seduce one of the models to prove they were not naive, because business isn't a game for children. Haru fulfilled this condition by sleeping with Sayori. The next day, Kido gave them the investment. Haru promised to make a $3 million profit in the first month, to which Kido replied that if they failed to keep their word, he would make them his slaves. Haru accepted the bet, then celebrated by bathing in money in a hotel bathtub, taking photos and videos with Gaku. He told Gaku to enjoy it, but soon they realized that they have to start a company. So they began hiring people for their company, though they had no idea how to conduct interviews. So they used a book to assess candidates' abilities. They selected a girl named Rin because she not only answered questions correctly, but was also sharp. The next day, Rin came to work at Gaku's apartment, but they still hadn't decided what their company would do. Rin suggested many business ideas from books, and finally, they decided their company would be an AI-based online store that suggested gifts. The problem was that creating AI wasn't child's play, as it required lots of money and people. So they decided Rin would pretend to be an AI herself and recommend gifts to customers. Rin worked sincerely, and the company began to grow, but the profits were not as high as they had promised. The three of them discussed the issue and discovered that people mostly preferred to give flowers as gifts. They decided to focus on that. Coincidentally, Rin had worked at a flower shop before and knew the field well. She began recommending perfect flowers for every occasion. Later, Kido introduced them to Miss Suzuki, owner of a flower company. She agreed to join Trillion Game but demanded they generate $20 million in revenue by the next month. To meet this target, they tried entering the nightclub market, where wealthy women became rental boyfriends' clients, known as hosts, and loved gifting expensive flowers. The challenge was that a guy named Hiroto was the #1 host, and stealing his clients could get them thrown out. But Haru didn't give up. Using his smooth talk and magic tricks, he brought 2 women into the club and persuaded other ladies to order flowers through their app. However, one woman, Hiroto's client, treated Gaku badly, and Hiroto's men beat him up in an alley. Haru arrived in time, fought off Hiroto's men, and told Hiroto that he would soon become the #1 host himself, taking Hiroto's position. This hurt Hiroto's ego, and he declared that if Haru became #1, he would quit, but if Haru failed, both Haru and Gaku would be thrown out. Meanwhile, Gaku improved their app based on client feedback. Initially, it only allowed flower bookings for birthdays, but now it supported multiple bookings, and their AI recommended different flowers for each date. They even added a 20% discount, prompting clients to place many orders, though they were one-time orders and not repeat customers. Most people still preferred buying flowers offline to see them in person, so Gaku added a 360-degree flower view feature to the app so customers could examine the flowers in detail before purchasing. A month passed this way, and then the night arrived when it was to be decided who among Hiroto and Haru would become the #1 host. Both sat at separate tables with their teams, ordering ridiculously expensive champagne for their clients. When only 10 minutes were left before the tally closed, Karika entered and called for the club's top host. Both Hiroto and Haru appeared. Karika declared she would choose the one who offered her a suitable drink. Hiroto presented the club's finest brandy, while Haru offered nothing more than a humble canned beer. Both urged her to pick their recommended drinks. Everyone assumed Karika would go for the pricey brandy, but she took Haru's beer can and crowned him the winner because, in truth, she had paid $5 million for that cheap can. Apparently, it was the world's first beer worth more than a small car. With that, Haru became the new #1 host, and Hiroto's entire clientele began shifting to Haru. The very next day, Hiroto tried to leave the club, but Haru convinced him to work together. A week later, their sales touched 20 million, which made Haru and Rin ecstatic, while Gaku grew emotional and began to cry. Meanwhile, Kato told Karika she had actually made Shizu's business easier to sell. If she hadn't helped Haru rise to #1, Shizu would have been forced to sell to her. Karika coolly replied, "Those who win by losing are called true gamblers," and hinted she had major plans for Haru and Gaku that she would reveal in due time. But soon, Karika copied their business model, and she left no opportunity to promote this business on a huge level. Ads were everywhere, on news channels and billboards. But in the next scene, it was revealed that Karika hadn't placed those ads at all. Her father had. Karika herself was actually against stealing someone's business model. On the other hand, Haru and his team were feeling down, but Haru quickly devised a way out. He planned to buy a small gaming company and its creators using their profits. During this search, he met Sakura and her struggling team. Haru promised them a new office and a better work environment, inviting them the very next day to a spectacular office with a monthly rent of 3 million and a security deposit of 20 million. Gaku was dizzy hearing those numbers, while Rin calculated that they had funds to operate for only 6 more months. Sakura insisted a proper game would take 2 years to develop and would cost $1 billion. But Haru showed them a discontinued survival island game that had once been wildly popular. He proposed recreating it with a modern touch, less time, less cost. Days later, Haru hosted a mobile game development announcement party, inviting many investors. Suzuki and Kato were also present. Sakura wanted to present his idea but forgot his speech, so he read it from a paper. Since Haru hadn't arrived yet, Gaku asked Sakura to stretch his speech. Poor Sakura started repeating himself, causing several investors to leave. Just then, Haru made a hero's entrance. He brought out Remote, an ex-developer from Dragon Bank Gaming, who claimed he was partnering with Trillion Game Company to build the best game in the universe. They invited investors to contribute funds in exchange for revenue shares. Their event went very well, and the next day, when Rin calculated they had raised 2 billion yen from the event, sending the entire team leaping with joy. But privately, Haru told Gaku that Remote was actually an actor he had hired. Dragon Gaming had hidden its real developers so no one could lure them away with money, showing only an AI-generated picture named Horimoto. Haru had exploited this to his advantage. He then revealed his true motive. Not to make a game, but to control the media. They would give some money to Sakura's team to keep them quiet, develop a small game or two, and use the rest of the funds to take over the media. Without media support, any company they built would be crushed or copied by bigger players. Gaku was shocked and felt terrible for Sakura's team. Meanwhile, Kurika's father also figured out Haru's trick about Remote, but didn't want to expose him publicly, fearing the media would demand the real creators' names. Kurika, on the other hand, was quite impressed with Haru's cunning. Later, Haru revealed his entire plan to Mr. Kato. The following day, Rin rushed into the office, pulled Gaku aside, and told him 2 billion yen had vanished from their accounts. Surely Haru's doing. Furious, Rin wanted to confront Haru, but Gaku stopped her and admitted it was his fault for not having the courage to oppose Haru. He promised their game would be completed no matter what. Then Rin and Gaku told Sakura's team the whole truth. Their dream of working with Horimoto was shattered. Gaku assured them he would meet a classmate working at Dragon Gaming to get information about their development team, but he was lying too. In reality, Gaku planned to hack Dragon Bank's servers to uncover their developers. Late at night, after everyone left, Gaku began hacking and not only found details about the development team, but also their future plans. For a moment, he was tempted to steal their raw files and launch them as his own game, because nothing says team spirit like a little light cybercrime over midnight coffee. But then he realized how many years of effort must have gone into those files. Stealing someone else's work would be wrong, so he didn't touch anything at all. The next day, Kurika's team informed her that someone hacked their server, but he didn't do anything. If the hacker wanted, they could have stolen data and caused billions in losses, but instead, they left a note listing all the vulnerabilities in their system, warning them to fix it quickly. Kurika suspected it was Gaku because, during his interview, he spoke at length about hacking. So she immediately called him and asked him out on a date the next day. Hearing that Gaku was so shocked, he almost checked if pigs were flying outside his window. Because it was the first time anyone had ever asked him out directly for a date, so he couldn't refuse. The next day, Kurika took him to an adventure park, where she openly enjoyed herself with him. Later that night, while sitting on a giant Ferris wheel, she told him that someone had hacked their server, but no data was stolen. Gaku became nervous and wondered what Haru would say if he were in his place. He replied that he didn't know what she was talking about, but when Kurika pressed him, he guessed that maybe the hacker wanted information about her game development team or something not yet public. At the end of the date, Kurika told Gaku about Hebejima, the head of her development team, which made Gaku ecstatic, as he was happier than someone who found Wi-Fi in a desert. In the next scene, Gaku met Hebejima with Rin and Haru and convinced him to help build their game. Hebejima later came to Trillion Games' office, met the team, and discussed the concept. They all began developing a Bubble Buster game. After some time, the game was completed. Haru's goal was to get 1 million people to download and play it quickly. They planned to launch the game on the 6th, but on the same day, Dragon Company also announced their new Bubble game with heavy advertising, which made Sakura tense. Hebejima then said his work was done as he had helped them build the game, and now he had an assignment to make a new game at Dragon Gaming Company. Sakura wanted to stop him, but Hebejima mentioned that he was earning 180 million yen there, which Gaku couldn't afford. Still, Gaku offered him a 3% profit share. If the Bubble End game earned 5 billion in profit, Hebejima would get $150 million, not yen. However, Hebejima remembered the threats from Karika's father, who warned him to leave the Trillion game immediately or face destruction along with them. Because of this, Hebejima rejected Haru's offer and went to Dragon Gaming's launch event, where for the first time they publicly credited him as a developer. But while standing there, he remembered his moments at Trillion Game and suddenly announced that he was leaving Dragon Gaming and joining Trillion Game again. This gave the Trillion Game huge publicity. Meanwhile, Haru bought a talent media agency and used popular models to promote their bubble game. Within 10 days of its release, the game reached 1 million downloads and climbed into the Play Store's top 3 games. Soon after, it became the #1 game, making Gaku and his team overjoyed, and they celebrated with a big party. During the celebration, Haru revealed that the game earned them 5 billion in profit, meaning they were now billionaires. However, Haru still hadn't forgotten his dream of earning 1 trillion yen. He wanted to launch an online channel called Trillion TV. Both of them went to Kdo to pitch their idea. Kdo said they first needed to learn how to create shows and distribute them because television wouldn't become popular overnight. But Haru already had a plan. He first bought a weather forecasting channel to learn video distribution, then worked with models from his media agency to produce new shows. Soon, he even secured sponsorship from a mobile phone company. Later, they discovered that Dragon Bank had acquired a foreign firm named Darex. So Haru decided his channel would focus only on news broadcasting to avoid conflict. Gaku built an AI-based video analyzer to verify real and fake news before broadcasting and also sent reporters to live report outside the restaurant involved in the incident. They even obtained exclusive inside footage that no other news channel had, which boosted their viewership and helped police deal with the situation more efficiently, and they easily entered the restaurant and caught the criminal. Haru threw a party for his team to celebrate. Later, he and the team worked on producing an anime, but this again put them in competition with Dragon Company. Meanwhile, Karika's father met Kdo, offering him all his advertising business if he would stop supporting Haru and instead join hands with him. Kdo informed Haru about this. Haru told him to do whatever was right for his talent media house and to never let good offers slip away. Yet, Mr. Kdo refused Karika's father's offer. At that time, the Dragon Bank executive wanted to call Gaku, Haru, and Kdo to his office to befriend them. He now wanted to buy all the stocks of Trillion Game and was ready to pay 70 billion for it. Along with that, he was even willing to give his daughter in marriage, meaning he wanted to marry Karika to Haru and make him his son-in-law because he saw in Haru the same fire he once had. This shocked Gaku, but he was even more surprised when Haru said he was already married and therefore couldn't accept the offer, which, let's be honest, is one way to dodge a proposal, beat saying, "It's not you, it's me." This upset Karika a little, but later Gaku learned that Haru had lied about being married so that if he refused the marriage offer, Karika wouldn't be embarrassed. After having a good talk with Gaku and Kdo, Haru met Karika's father the next day and rejected the offer, cheekily saying, "You want to buy our company? Well, we want to buy yours." Karika's father thought it was a joke and laughed loudly, not knowing Haru wasn't joking. To grow his company bigger, Haru created a cashless bank so people could transfer money online. He and his team faced many difficulties, but they never gave up. Later, Haru wanted to acquire public railway Soy Soy, but Karika's father invited him to lunch and said they had already partnered with Soy Soy, and this was just the beginning. Meanwhile, Gaku's team discovered that a virus had hit their Steam service, bringing the server down, and at the same time, the gaming server also crashed. When Gaku checked the system, he found out someone had hacked it and stolen data from the game division, television division, and business division, including every Trillion Game user's address and account number. Gaku immediately called Haru to inform him about the data leak when he was sitting with Karika's father. Her father then told Haru that rejecting their 70 billion offer would now cost him his credibility, but if he got down on his knees and begged for help, they would still buy his company. Haru was furious but kept quiet. The next day, Rin, as the president of the company, held a press conference to apologize to the users for the data leak and took full responsibility, resigning from her post. In the next scene, Haru literally went down on his knees to Karika's father asking for help and also asked if marrying his daughter was still an option. You could say Haru was multitasking as a corporate bailout plus matchmaking in one move. Gaku pulled Haru aside and asked about his real plan. Haru replied he had no plan because he just needed to earn 1,000,000,000, and if he married Karika, he could learn the right business tricks from her father to make it easily. This deeply upset Gaku because while Haru and he would earn his money, all the employees' hard work would be wasted. Haru, thinking only of himself, angered Gaku, who walked out. The next day, Haru became the director of Dragon Company and arrived at Trillion Games' office. His team couldn't believe he could do something like this. After Haru and Kido sold their shares, Trillion Company became part of Dragon Company. After the takeover, a Dragon Company employee became the president of Trillion Game. He was a grumpy man who, instead of assigning creative work, tasked them with bug hunting. Gaku was transferred to the general department and often cried, remembering his good times with Haru. One night, Haru visited Gaku and revealed that besides earning 1,000,000,000, he had another dream to destroy the Dragon Company. Karika's father had committed many scams, and Haru wanted to expose him, but he needed Gaku's help to steal data from the CEO's computer. Knowing the truth, Gaku agreed to help and leaked the data online, exposing Karika's father's blackmail, illegal land deals, and bribery of powerful ministers. However, the CEO quickly got the videos blocked with just one news statement. Later, he called a board meeting and summoned both Gaku and Haru. What they didn't know was that when Gaku stole the data, he deleted the CCTV footage, but there was a hidden camera that caught him. However, Haru had already scared the shareholders by showing them the CEO's dark secrets, causing them to sell their stock. Haru now held some of Dragon Company's shares and secured support from other board members. He even had Gaku hack into the CEO's webcam, so when the CEO got exposed, he begged cabinet ministers to delete the videos, during which several other conversations got recorded, giving Gaku strong evidence. But Haru still needed 6% more shares to make 51% and take control. He asked Karika to give him her 6% shares. Though her father believed she would never agree, she accepted because refusing would mean Haru exposing her father publicly and ruining Dragon Bank. Then came a twist that Haru made Gaku the CEO of Dragon Company instead of himself. Afterward, they went to Rin, who was working at a flower shop, told her everything, and brought her back to the company. In the next scene, Gaku and Haru stood on the top floor of Dragon Bank Company, remembering how working there was once a dream, and now they are running it. Days later, Trillion Game Company acquired its parent company, Dragon Bank. Gaku became the CEO of Trillion Game, Karika became the president of Dragon Bank, and Rin became the president of Mizuki's flower business after Haru purchased it. But Haru disappeared without telling anyone. He returned 2 years later when Gaku was buying food from a vending machine, and the wind blew his bill away, only for Haru to catch it and hand it back with a grin. They both become very happy to see each other. Haru took Gaku to the harbor and told his upcoming plan, because now he wanted to enter in the harbor business and want to dominate it. Gaku once again was shocked, but he knows that if Haru is on it, he will surely do it. They both once again started the new chapter of their business, and with that, this success story comes to an end.